Hi, welcome to my channel Rohit Speaks, and in today's video we are going to talk about is diabetes. As you all know, diabetes is a worldwide disease where there are a lot of people who are suffering from it. It could be your family members, it could be your friends. So in this video, I hope to give you enough knowledge to understand what's wrong in the body when there is someone who is suffering from diabetes. So when we talk about diabetes, if I want to put it simply, it's that your body cannot produce a hormone called as insulin, and the role of this insulin is to take away the glucose from your blood to power your organs. So to understand it in much more depth, we need to know what is glucose and what is its role. So glucose is the primary source of energy. As I could call it here, it's the raw material which is converted into the form of energy called as ATP. And that's your energy currency. That makes you work. That makes your organs work. ATP is the one thing which makes everything in your system work. To make ATP, you require is the glucose. That's your source of energy. And then you also need proteins and all other stuff. But the energy which is required by your body is given by glucose. And you get that energy in the form of the food you eat. Now, food you eat could be carbohydrate rich, starchy food, any of those which has complex sugars. So your body, what it does is when you consume those kind of food, for example, here it's shown in the form of apple, which has carbohydrates and sugar. When you eat that, it goes through your esophagus, you chew that, it goes to your stomach. Now, stomach has acid which will break down your food with the help of enzymes secreted by liver and pancreas. And then it goes through the small intestine. This is where your apple is now converted into the form of glucose, amino acids, vitamins, all of those small micronutrients. And they are now absorbed through this small intestine into the blood, which is passing through here, and it will be circulated all over the body. So this glucose is then converted in every organ into the form of ATP to make your organs work, to make your muscle work, to make your liver work, to make your kidney work, whatever you call it. Now, what happens if there is too much of glucose? When there is excess of glucose in your body, it is converted into glycogen. Now, what is glycogen is basically it is a lot of glucose molecules bonded to each other. It is like kind of daisy chain. So there is one glucose, another glucose, another glucose, another glucose, and they are stored in liver. Now, liver has n number of spots. It can only store glycogen to its limit. Once the glycogens are completely saturated into the liver, the excess glucose is then converted into fats. So remember, there are two sources of glucose after food is in your body where your glucose is stored. First is glycogen, and then is your fats. So first, glycogen is broken down when your body is starving. First is the glycogen from your livers is broken down into glucose to support all your organs. After that has depleted, that's when your fats are broken down in to give glucose. So always remember, when you go fasting, first your glycogen deposits have to go, and then your fats come in. So now, now you know what is the role of glucose, let's understand the role of insulin. So with insulin, where is insulin and where it is secreted from? So insulin is a hormone which is secreted by pancreas. Pancreas is this bicycle seat kind of looking thing, and it's below the stomach, and that's your stomach, that's your liver right here. This is your gallbladder, by the way. So pancreas are the organ which is below the stomach, and it secretes not only insulin, but also glucagon. And let's understand those two hormones. So if you come here, what does insulin do? So your pancreas secretes insulin. Now, insulin doesn't stick to glucose. Remember this, insulin is a hormone which is also in your blood, and it's going through blood to all your organs. And what it does is basically it goes inside your organ and opens your tissues or your tissues of your organ to accept glucose inside. Okay, insulin doesn't stick to the glucose, but it actually goes inside your organs and opens your organs to accept the glucose inside. And once your glucose are inside your organs, it is converted into ATP to power your organs and make them work. So the role of insulin is basically to go inside the organs and open the organs to take the glucose from the blood. And what does glucagon do is basically it checks the level of it keeps the level of your glucose in your blood constant. So if your blood sugar is dropping, it will go to the liver and say, hey, glycogen, we need more glucose. So the glycogen is broken down into glucose and supplied into the blood, and then insulin does its job and powers your organ. So that's the cycle which keeps going. Okay, so now what happens in diabetes is there is a failure of this hormone. So if there is not enough insulin, so insulin is not going around in your organs and opening it up to take the glucose. So now organs cannot function properly. However, glucagon is doing its job. So your organs are saying, hey, we don't have glucose. So glucagon is giving you glucose from the glycogen. It's saying, okay, I'll make more glucose, but you know that there is no insulin. So the organs are still saying, oh, we are not getting it. So what happens is your blood sugar keeps going up. And after the glycogen has been depleted, that your fats are broken down. And that's why when people who are initially suffering from diabetes, they will lose weight because your glycogen has gone, your glucose deposit, the first glucose deposit, and now your fats are breaking down. So that's why you start losing weight. Now, let's understand what happens when the blood sugar is high. So if your blood sugar is high, what happens is your blood becomes more viscous. It becomes more thick, more syrupy. It cannot flow that properly. So you can understand as it is, so your blood cannot flow properly. It will start restricting your blood vessels, start breaking your blood vessels, start damaging your nerves. And then slowly your organ failures, your hearts, your eyes, your kidneys. So it's very important to get that blood glucose down. And that's why people who are suffering from diabetes, they take extra insulin injections. So now you give that insulin, your insulin is enough. Now it can go back to the organs and say, open the organs and take that excess glucose inside. And that's how you regulate the blood sugar when people who are suffering from diabetes. Now, diabetes in the world, they are categorized in 4 types. There is type 1, there is type 2, there is pre-diabetes, and then there is gestational diabetes. So type 1 diabetes is very rare, only 10% in the world who are suffering from it. It's where your own body attacks its pancreas, or basically it's called as autoimmune disease, where your antibodies attack the pancreas thinking it's foreign, and it kills them, and there is not enough insulin, and then that person is suffering from diabetes because there is no insulin, nothing to take that glucose from the blood, hence they need to take extra insulin. Type 2 diabetes is the most common. We call it as lifestyle disease. That's when you consume a lot of sugar, and then what happens is basically your insulin is there is so much your body can produce insulin, but if you keep consuming too much of glucose, or if there is too much of glucose, first of all, and then too much of fats can cause to your diabetes. So that's the type 2 diabetes. There is also another version of it, which is called as insulin resistance. So this is where your organs are not able to take enough insulin inside. That's another very rare form, but that's there too. Pre-diabetes is where your blood sugar is high, but it's not high enough to be called as diabetes. So those people are called as pre-diabetic, and these are a little bit easier to control by diet, and you don't have to take insulin in this case. And gestational diabetes is when during pregnancy, when there are hormones being released, these hormones sometimes overcomes the effect of insulin. And then the blood sugar goes high, and the babies are at the risk of being obese in their future. So these are the types of diabetes. Mostly it is a livable condition, but understand it's the insulin which is not there enough. So in type 1 and type 2, people survive by taking extra insulin. Pre-diabetic can be controlled by diet. Gestational also can be done by diet or by using insulin injections. So these are the type of diabetes. Now, how can you live with diabetes, or how can you make sure that everything is working fine? First of all, as everybody has said, and so many, maintain an active lifestyle. It doesn't have to be very strenuous exercise, simply walking 10-15 minutes every day, or at least walking some stairs. If you cannot do stairs, just break a sweat, and you will be very thankful for your body. And when I say diabetes, that you should not eat sweets, it's not true. You can eat your sweets. Understand, it's the insulin which is not there. Your organ has to take that glucose. It needs that glucose. So your insulin is the problem. It's not the sweets. But yeah, don't consume more than too much. But always understand diabetes is not cutting down your sugar. Your body needs that glucose. So you need to have it. But you, as always, anything excess is always problem. So make sure there is a moderation is your key, as I have mentioned here. Try to have your sweet on the days you had less carbs. What does that mean is basically sweet or glucose is not just in your sweets, your donuts, your desserts, but they are also in your starchy foods, your rice, your wheats, your breads, your fruits. So you think that you ate fruits, it's not count, but it does count towards your sugar. So the days you had less carbs, you can plan to have your favorite dessert that day. Or the day you had more protein-rich meal, you can have that day. And always keep a check on your blood glucose. You have all those meters, you can check that. Try to keep it under 100, and that would be very actively working for you. So those, my piece of advice for those people, those who are suffering from diabetes, keep a check on your blood sugar, make sure you have exercise, and moderate your glucose intake. It doesn't mean to stop it completely because your body will go into ketosis. Because what will happen is if you're not giving enough glucose, as I remember, your glycogen will be converted into glucose. After that has been depleted, your fats will be broken down. The problem with fats is when your fats are broken down, it will give you glucose, but there is a byproduct, ketone bodies, and your body will go into ketosis. And then excess of ketosis will also start making your blood acidic, and it creates a whole lot of another issues. So always try to have everything in moderation. That's all. Keep a check and you will live happy and healthy. Hope this video have given you a little bit more in-depth knowledge about diabetes. If you have any questions, please put down in the comment section, and I will see you guys next time in the next video. Bye.